I want to talk about what a great time it is to be young, free, fertile, single, and a woman in today's world. Let's stay relevant. Hello and welcome to Navigate with Kalpana. I recently spent an afternoon with a much younger girlfriend. Together we explored a beautiful museum and then strolled into an adjoining shrine. The verdant, picturesque Hanuman temple beckoned, and in the warm afternoon it seemed as though we had entered another world. Completely deserted, but for the two of us, a oven was quietly dying in embers, and food and offerings of flowers were scattered about. Monkeys had been foraging around. After all, it was a Hanuman temple. We wandered around chatting and strolling around the peepal tree, below which were the fascinating 3 stone carvings of serpents entwined. My friend laughed and said, "Now that we have circled the tree, we shall have the husband of our dreams and many children." I said, "Thank you, I've had my fill of both. I am happy to pass on my favors to you, and may you be twice blessed." She responded, "No, not for me. That is not what it's going to be." And we continued on our way. How times have changed. An unmarried woman in her mid-30s can confidently say that marriage and motherhood were not for her. She had many options. She need not settle for any man, leave alone just one man. And who says it has to be a man? Children? Well, she was happy to be aunt to many, was open to the idea of adoption, and in the meantime, all cuddling needs were taken care of by her pet dog, who was as well groomed and expensively cared for as any fussy baby. I was taken aback again when the same friend asked, "Did women your age ever have the opportunity to be single?" Opportunity? What was she talking about? It was quite honestly considered a fate worse than death to be left on the shelf. I am trying hard to think back to my 20s and 30s. Did I have any single friends? Ones who had the opportunity to never have been married? I recall the postgraduate hostel of a renowned institution in Mumbai. The only woman there who I know for a fact was planning to be single forever was a feisty nun. She was very proud of her dark curly hair and how it shone under the tube light. Who says nuns can't be vain or change their minds? I wonder, did she ever marry? I know of one who did. She too was a nun and he a doctor. What a romance that must have been. Today they have a daughter, a doctor herself, and the nun mother is querulously waiting to become a grandmother. I recall a maid who had been deserted by her husband and a couple of divorced girlfriends in relationships. We gossiped about whether they would ever get married or simply be ditched when convenient for the guy. Intellectual, highly qualified women in socially recognized jobs. Read social work, MBA, IIT types, or those who went off to the US or had well-paid employment like air hostesses were okay to be single. They put a roof over their own heads. Even so, their moods, especially if they were cranky, was explained away as the side effects of being sexually deprived. Did women of my generation ever consider the option of being single an opportunity? I know my mother had very real fears for her own 2 daughters, that we may not find appropriate grooms. This in spite of being intelligent, well-educated, and not at all bad-looking. What was she afraid of? There was no imbalanced sex ratio to be worried about, as has been recently reported in some North Indian villages. What was the concern? Was there even a real concern? True, there were some practical concerns. Single women were considered easy prey and needed to be protected. Where and how would they live? Would they find suitable accommodation? I have heard the word protection used very recently, in regard to myself, a grey 60-plus-year-old woman. And when I relocated to my city some years ago, many house owners told me they would not rent to single people. Many issues are old and they remain new. No one will say a single woman today is sex-starved and therefore cranky. Many have the audacity to flaunt their love lives in your face. How times have changed to have the ability to stroll around a fertility shrine, sit under the shade of trees, imbibe the atmosphere of a sultry afternoon, and be so comfortable in your skin as to reject Manu himself and chart one's own path. My dearest young women, you have been blessed for the choices you can make. May you have the wisdom to navigate a path that works for you and have the energy to change direction when required. When choosing, give up on perfection. It is a man-made concept and does not exist in nature. It's best to follow what feels right for you and go down the path you make for yourself. And always stay this relevant.